Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Situation Room on PTV World. I am Omar Khalid, and of course we are going to discuss the latest situation that has emanated post the ceasefire, and of course all that has happened also since Pakistan showed its resolve and showed its might to everybody across the world, and there was a tactical strategic change as far as the region is concerned. Pakistan's superiority is evident to all and sundry, and Pakistan showed it in the way it responded to the Indian aggression and the Indian way of violence that it had perpetrated towards Pakistan directly, indirectly, post the Pahalgam false flag operation. This said, India had already been doing such violence or aggression against Pakistan indirectly through Afghanistan with the connivance of BLA, TTP and so many others, and of course also on through the cyber warfare, through the fifth generation warfare by using instruments such as the EU Disinfo Lab and so many other ways in which it had tried to manipulate the world in thinking that Pakistan was doing exactly the opposite of what it stood for. At the same time, the Indian media was rampant with the jingoism and warmongering since the false flag operation, and it seemed as if the whole of the Indian nation would take up arms, and this was the sentiment that was being perpetrated through the Indian media and the Indian social media. But now that Pakistan has shown its response, there was a very quick reaction from the Indian side in asking for a ceasefire, and that is what happened. The ceasefire with the mediation of the US happened, and for the moment this ceasefire still stands. The meeting of the DGMOs, the telephone conversation between the DGMOs of both sides also has happened till now or will be happening very, very soon. Let's see what the future of this ceasefire also is. But when it comes to Pakistan, its tactical superiority has been established in the region, and it has been accepted by all the important media outlets and the powers that be. At the same time, Pakistan could not have achieved all of this on its own. It had the backing of many important regional players. On the forefront of those regional players is the Republic of China. China, that has been our friend in the good and the bad, in the happiness, in the sadness, and has proven to be an arm of strength for Pakistan whenever Pakistan has needed it. Even under these circumstances, China had Pakistan's backing. And what to say, it was China's JF-10s and JF-17s that proved their superiority against the Rafales. Although in the press meet that happened last night, in which there were the DGISPR was there, and the naval and the Air Force representatives were also there. At the same time, even there, when it was asked by Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb Ahmed about the Rafales, whether they were not superior, he did say that it all at the end of the day mattered on how things were operated upon. So it's a mix of the two. The way our Air Force personnel were superior in the way they operated the aircrafts, and also the capabilities of the aircrafts combined proved to be a game changer when it comes to Pakistan. And that is where it shows that Pakistan and China collaboration in so many different sectors, whether it be the defense or the others, has proven to be extremely beneficial for Pakistan under these circumstances. Also, Pakistan's Air Force personnel were extremely ready. You saw how everything was planned out, and when Pakistan reacted after the attacks on the Air Force bases, it was meticulous, to say the least. We have been joined by Khalil Hashmi Saab, who is Pakistan ambassador to China, online. Sir, thank you very much to have joined us and to have given us the time. I'd like to understand, sir, how do you see this recent escalation with China? You were in Beijing. You must have been seeing the Chinese perspective of it all, and at the same time also highlighting Pakistan's narrative. What does it bode as far as regional peace and security or stability is concerned? And how do you see Pakistan's response being an ambassador in a very friendly country like China?
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for having me. Well, from where I sit, of course, we were also worried when the escalation was caused. And I think it was a clear indication of a very irresponsible behavior on the part of our eastern neighbor to carry out military strikes inside Pakistan in very clear violation of international law, UN Charter. Pakistan exercised restraint. Pakistan did not escalate. But when the second round of these illegal actions were carried out, Pakistan had no choice but to respond, and respond it did. And I think our armed forces, especially our Air Force, made us all proud, and we were able to defend ourselves, and we proved that we have the resolve, we have the capability, and the conviction to do so.
Sir, how do you see regional peace and stability post this ceasefire announcement between Pakistan and China?
I think it's very clear that peace, stability, and security in South Asia is contingent on resolution of outstanding disputes. And the number one dispute and the root cause of recurrent crises in South Asia is the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. And it's well known. I think we have to find ways. And you must have seen the Foreign Ministry has issued a statement. Our leadership has also issued statements. We have welcomed President Trump's offer to help with talks and in finding a solution to the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. So I think that's the key. The key to peace and stability in South Asia is Jammu and Kashmir and resolution of this very long-standing issue.
Excellency, being an ambassador to the People's Republic of China, how have you been viewing China's position on this issue post the false flag operation, after when it ensued, and, now, and when Pakistan responded, and now that there is a ceasefire between the two sides? How do you see all the responses that you must have been viewing and observing with detail during these days?
I think three words that characterize China's response. First and foremost, very mature, very wise, and very objective. Chinese position has been very clearly articulated, and that is restraint, de-escalation, and diplomacy to resolve the disputes and conflicts and through peaceful means. So that's how I would, sum it up. I think China's position as a common neighbor is something that is very welcome, and China has always counseled, not only in this case, but has had a very consistent position that wherever there are conflicts or disputes, dialogue and diplomacy and peaceful means are the best solution.
Also, Excellency, we've always talked about, you've talked about in our recent conversations about the ironclad friendship that exists between Pakistan and the People's Republic of China. How has this ironclad friendship demonstrated itself in times such as these?
I think there is a very large public sentiment here, of course, given that Pakistan and China, their relations are, very unique, very special. Um, we say that these relations have withstood the test of time. This was another occasion where it was proven that regardless of the regional or international situation, Pakistan and China, they stand by each other. It also, this, we use another expression that our relationship and friendship is higher than the highest mountains. And I think this was also proven that the two countries they have stood by each other. But beyond that, I think also in the media or in at the public level, um, so people are also relieved that there is a ceasefire and that a possible path to peace can be paved. So there is a general sentiment, of course, of support for Pakistan in at the public level. We see it in the social media also, and even otherwise. So all in all, I would say China's public position is we welcome that. It is very objective, very wise, and is based on wisdom.
All right. Chinese public excellency have also been extremely active on social media as far as their support for Pakistan is concerned, specifically after the false flag operation. We saw so many different words and videos and texts of appreciation that came through all over China for the Pakistani brethren, the Pakistani armed forces, and also once Pakistan's Air Force displayed its capability of using the Chinese defense equipment of JF-10 and JF-17s and managed to gain superiority in the air defense, that also added to the congratulatory messages that came from the Chinese side. What's your opinion about Pakistan and China even collaborating on the defense realm through the use of these aircrafts and then gaining air superiority?
Well, as you know, Pakistan-China collaboration in several areas is very well known. Pakistan-China defense collaboration is very well known. JF-17 aircrafts, Pakistan and China have collaborated for many years for co-production. And J-series aircrafts we have acquired from China before. So I mean, specifically in this specific case, it was a combination of course, Chinese defense technology was on display, but also Pakistani fighter pilots, their skills and their courage. So this combination was very evident. So as is the case with each country, so we acquired the means to defend ourselves, and in this specific case, we were able to do so and establish um, the necessary deterrence against the illegal actions that were carried out against our country.
I'd like to understand, Excellency, do the Indian actions that have happening post the Pahalgam false flag operation, whether it be through the Indian media or whether it be through the Indian statements or the Indian actions, or even before that, have they impacted Pak-China relations in any matter whatsoever?
I would say Pakistan-China relations are, they have their inherent strength, and they are not aimed at third countries. Having said that, of course, to the extent that Pakistani position in a particular situation like this one, what we are discussing, um, is based on principles. The fact is that the Indian aggression violated every tenet of international law, the UN Charter principles. We also asked for an independent and impartial investigation, and which is the way these are international norms. This is not something that we are asking out of thin air. This is the way, modern states conduct their relations. So, without any investigation, without presentation of any evidence or credible evidence, launching a military operation inside Pakistan territory, even if standoff weapons were used, is a clear violation of international law and UN Charter principles. So, but this is not the first time that we have seen. I think what I find most disturbing is that this is something which is being done over and over again. And what is worrying is that the entire architecture of laws, international rule of law, norms is being weakened deliberately by actions of large states who, and in this case, India, for example, wants to become a member of the UN Security Council. I think it is time to hold such countries to a higher standard of conduct of foreign relations. A country, any country which aspires to be a member of the UN Security Council, a permanent member more so, should be clear of any dispute with any of its neighbors. And its track record for compliance with international law, UN Charter, should be unblemished. These are the two essential criteria which I think should be adhered to before considering any membership aspirations of the UN Security Council permanent membership.
Excellency, how do you see China's addressing potential threats to Pakistan's territorial integrity in the international fora?
Well, Chinese position is very clear. This has been expressed time and again in every joint statement that is issued between the two countries. Chinese position was also reaffirmed in this crisis, and that position is that China will always support Pakistan in upholding its sovereignty and its territorial integrity. So when it comes to matters that are, of interest or of impact on Pakistan or China at the multilateral fora, I think Pakistan and China closely consult, they closely coordinate, and their positions on almost all major international issues, whether they are in the development domain, security domain, in other social domains, we have a lot of convergences. So we work very closely and we consult each other and we have a very fine tradition of extending support to each other.
Given the emphasis on the deep rooted trust that exists between People's Republic of China and Pakistan, as you've discussed in many a times in our conversations in the past, how do you perceive the role of this alliance in maintaining regional stability amidst India's recent actions?
I think it's very important. Pakistan-China friendship, Pakistan-China strategic partnership has been recognized, and in this crisis again has proven that it is an important factor of regional peace, security, and stability. I think going forward also, both Pakistan and China, they are important and responsible members of the international community, and we would like to work with China in deepening, in deepening and promoting international adherence to international law, UN Charter principles, and aspirations, the common aspirations of our people for a better future, for peace, tranquility, and development.
Excellency, with the China Pakistan Economic Corridor being a cornerstone of the bilateral cooperation between Pakistan and China, in your point of view, what steps now, also under the current circumstances, need to be taken to further strengthen such initiatives?
Well, our coordination, consultation, and our collaboration on China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, and within that framework, several projects. The work is ongoing. Um, as you know, we have achieved and made a lot of progress on energy and transport infrastructure. We are now focused on other areas, for example, agriculture, information technology, new technology, industrial cooperation. So while the first phase of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor focused more on energy and transport infrastructure, and through government-to-government basis, Uh, Going forward, we will be maintaining that government-to-government cooperation, also in transport, energy, and other infrastructure, because Pakistan still is a large developing country. So we would work very closely with China on those sectors, but also increasingly we would focus on business to business collaboration, investment, more trade between our two countries. And as I mentioned, there are other sectors, agriculture, IT, industrial cooperation, and we have previously spoken. We have made efforts here in China since last year. We have identified 21 sectors in which we are working very closely with Chinese enterprises, both in the public but more and more in the private sector, to work with them and convince them to do joint ventures in Pakistan in these sectors where we are hosting road shows in several sectors. This year we have planned 8. Last year we did 6. So this is an effort. So these are some of the, briefly things that are in place, and we will be working as we go ahead. We will be accelerating our efforts to promote investments, Chinese investments in Pakistan.
All right. Also, how do you envision? I mean, I know all the work that you've been doing. We've discussed that, all the different projects. You've just highlighted some of those, and they are just some of the different projects that are also in the fray as far as further strengthening the collaboration, cooperation between both the countries is concerned. Uh, when it comes to joint efforts to counteract regional threats and promote peace, what should we foresee in the coming months and in the coming years as far as Pak-China collaboration or cooperation is concerned?
I think there are a number of issues where we have regular dialogue and regular consultations. We have regular consultations on, for example, counterterrorism, multilateral issues ranging from trade to human rights to peacekeeping. We also have our consultations on some of the regional issues on Afghanistan. So going forward, I think these are some of those platforms. We have, of course, this year the Shanghai Cooperation Summit of the heads of state in China in the summer. So I think I would say this is an ongoing work, and we have several layers of and several mechanisms of consultation, coordination, and communication between our two countries on a host of bilateral, regional, and international issues.
All right. Thank you so very much, Ambassador Khalil Hashmi, to have joined us and to have given us this exclusive information about China's stance post the ceasefire between Pakistan and India, and of course the Pahalgam force flag operation. So thank you very much, sir, to have given us the time. This was Ambassador Hashmi, ambassador of Pakistan to the People's Republic of China. We've also been joined by Ahsan Hamid Durrani. He's the Director Policy Research Center, and he's here right with us in the studios. Ahsan, thank you very much to have given us the time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. So many things that come to my mind, but the first thing, the foremost thing comes is the press brief that was given, the media briefing that was given by the DGISPR along with the Deputy Chief of Air Staff Operations, Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb Ahmed, and the Deputy Chief of Naval Staff Operations, Vice Admiral Raja Rabnawaz last night. How important was that? Because we saw that earlier, just a few hours before, there was a similar press briefing that was given on the Indian side as well, and we saw that they emulated the exact model of how we are giving our press briefings. But how important was the briefing last night? There have been many briefings in the past few days, but yesterday's was post the ceasefire, and of course it was also to highlight Pakistan's achievements. What do you assume from this whole press brief, and how important was it under the current geostrategic circumstances?
Yeah, I think, Umar, it was really important. This war was not just being fought on the battlefield or the airspace, it was also being fought on the information front. And you've seen that there was a lot of fake news being circulated, especially by the Indian media, Indian diaspora, their social media, and this war hysteria has really brought up a new industry in India, and they were promulgating this fake news. So it was very important to set the record straight, and I think the spokesperson of the three armed forces led by the DGISPR, the press conference, I think they have really elaborated what actually happened, and there were representatives of international media, and we have already seen the effects of those press briefings. The national interest with one of the leading international publications have written a piece which says, the title says that why Indian military performed so poorly against Pakistan. We were already seeing that international independent analysts and think tanks are writing about India's failure on the battlefield, in the airspace, on the border fronts. So it was really important to do those press conferences and to apprise the international community on what's happening, because Pakistan in this recent saga was Pakistan was being attacked. India was the aggressor, India was the hegemon. Pakistan did not want to escalate. Pakistan in start was on the defensive, but when India, as ambassador has said, that when India attacked for the second time and when it sent drones deep into our territories, then it was time for Pakistan. And as per the aspirations of people of Pakistan, the armed forces of Pakistan have given a befitting response.
Went above and beyond Pakistan's expectations.
Above and beyond, obviously, when taking down Rafael, a 4.5 generation warfare, I mean, it's a huge embarrassment for Indian Air Force. For years they have, and you know, back in 2019 when the Abhinandan saga happened, so back then Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that if we had Rafael, we could have avoided that. But this time they had the Rafael. Still, they got the Rafael.
But you know what was interesting was Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb Ahmed, he was asked the question about how we downed a Rafale aircraft, and he said it's a combination. It's the aircraft plus how you operate it. So he says the Rafale is a good aircraft, but it's also how it was operated that led to Pakistan's superiority. So of course it goes a lot to say as or to highlight Pakistan Air Force personnel's readiness under such circumstances. But what was also important was this integrated tri-services approach when it comes to responding to India's behavior. In the Operation Bunyan al-Marsus, we saw a coordinated and a precise response by all the services to India's aggression. How important was to give that message to India and to India's backers?
Yeah, I think very important, the tri-services response. Of course, the Air Force had to be on the front because it was an air combat. But Pakistan Navy was on alert, because in this sort of situation and with an aggressor like India, with a hegemon like India, you can expect all sorts of scenarios. So our Navy was prepared to intercept their possible submarines, their naval fleets, because we've seen that they've been giving through their media, they've been giving warnings that they can attack through the waters as well. So our Navy was alert, our ground troops, our infantry, our artillery was alert, and they have responded in a very collaborated and coherent way, and that's why we have seen the success. As the spokesperson of the Pakistan Air Force has said that it was a 5-0 victory.
Yes.
So 0 down on our side and 5 down on their side.
And that was a huge point in Pakistan's favor under the current circumstances. It has highlighted Pakistan's readiness under such circumstances. With Pakistan targeting 26 military facilities, terror bases deep inside India and Indian occupied Kashmir, how does this operation also redefine the conventional balance of power in the region? Because that is a very important.
That's very important. For years, analysts have been talking that Pakistan has the nuclear deterrence, but Pakistan has proven in this conflict that Pakistan's conventional warfare capabilities can not just match but outmatch and outmaneuver India's conventional warfare capabilities, not just on airspace but on the grounds as well, on the in the international waters as well. And this recent saga, Umar, has also shattered the perception that India is untouchable in South Asia. India has been bullying its neighbors. It has bullied Bangladesh into certain behavior, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal, Bhutan, and it wanted through this attack to subdue Pakistan into that behavior as well, which it treats its neighbors. But that recent saga, it has been a slap on India's face. They tried to slap us, but the slap turned and hit their face on their own. So that has shattered, and now this recent saga of the air combat, the dogfights that happened, the downing of the Rafale, will be taught in military schools all over the world as a case study on how important it is that you have not just sophisticated technology but sophisticated training as well. For years, Pakistan Air Force has prided itself, and world has given examples of PAF in world-class training. So again, it's not just the machine, it's the man behind the machine who operates that.
Exactly.
It's man behind
it's
the cockpit.
combination.
It's the combination of both things, and Pakistan's just look at the comparison. Pakistan's, according to independent estimates, of course this is not the official estimates, but global think tanks say that Pakistan has an air combat fleet of some 400 combat jets. India, on the other hand, has more than 1,000 of these jets. So it's 1/3 of, the ratio is 1/3. And then, of course, the size of the Indian military, the Indian economy, the Indian defense budget. Just last 2-3 years, India has been one of the biggest exporters of arms globally. Importers after Saudi Arabia. So, and look at the comparison of Pakistan's economy and defense budget, which is a very small fraction of what India has. But still, it's a huge victory. I think
Pakistan down 5 aircrafts without even passing the line of control.
Exactly.
That is proof itself. Also, given the extensive cyber operations that were recently launched to cripple India's military infrastructure by Pakistan, how important is the cyber domain as far as modern warfare is concerned, or the 5th generation warfare, and how did this aspect also enhance Pakistan's operational success?
Yeah, I think very important domain, again, the cyber warfare. Pakistan has recently made huge strides in improving its cyber domain, especially the data protection laws have improved, and Pakistan has also attracted Pakistani talent that was working abroad to come and work for Pakistani government and the Pakistani armed forces in the cyber domain. And we've seen some recent examples of some very young talented persons who have been on the forefront of fighting this digital and cyber warfare for Pakistan military, and our military cyber capabilities have tremendously enhanced in the recent years. But I think still more resources and more investment needs to be done, more trainings need to be done in this field. I think it's time for us to realize that this warfare, with the recent victory in the airspace, I think it's time for us to realize that India will in future turn more to cyber warfare because of its defeats in the field. So I think we need to fortify our cyber domains more in the coming future.
Do you feel the Indian media will calm down a little bit with their war mongering and jingoism following their defeat?
I hope they do, because if they don't, they'll get an answer again. And the body language of the Indian military spokespersons that I've that was observed not just in Pakistan, not just internationally, but Indian analysts have also observed it. When asked a question about the downing of the Rafale jet, so that the spokesperson said that losses are a part of a war, and he sort of
that must have stumped India, because I don't think they were expecting the official spokesperson to more or less accept what the reality of the fact is.
Exactly, and in today's times, it's not possible. I mean, the Indian media can say whatever it wants, but the Indian military knows that it's not possible to hide these facts. If he would have categorically denied that, some day in future the evidence would have come up. Even the French intelligence officials have said through international media that yes, they believe that a Rafale was down. So I mean, these facts cannot be hidden, and as our spokesperson for the Air Force has given evidence of the not just the signals, but also the conversation that was the radio conversation that was going on between the downed fighter jet and his team leader when he was saying that, you know, I see a blast, and you know it was going down. So that these things cannot be hidden. I mean, Indian media can say anything it wants, but the fact remains the same.
Exactly, the fact remains the same. Also, you know, we were hearing the message again and again from the Pakistani DGISPR that Pakistan will respond at a time and place and a method of its choosing. That message was sent to India, and Pakistan, you know, stood by this statement that it put. How does this statement also bode on Pakistan's strategic patience and calibrated military response?
Yeah, I think it gives a very clear message to international community that Pakistan is a very responsible. Pakistan has the conventional capability, the nuclear capability, but Pakistan is a very responsible use of these capabilities. It has only invoked the Article 51 of the United Nations Charter, which was for self-defense. So what we did was in the interest of Pakistan's self-defense. We did not escalate the tensions. We did not carried out unprovoked strikes in India, unlike they did on us. So Pakistan's response was very calibrated, very calculated, and very befitting in response to India's attack and unprovoked and escalated tensions with Pakistan. So I think it bodes very well for Pakistan and bodes very well for Pakistani armed force capabilities globally. I think from now all these different friendly countries would be coming, and not just friendly countries, I mean other countries as well in the international militaries, they would be coming to Pakistan's military academies to learn the art of air combat, to learn how to take on big powers. And we have seen that, you know, as international analysts, international think tanks have been all praises for Pakistan's military response to this Indian aggression. And it has sent a very clear message that no matter if you are a big or a small country, you can be economically challenged, you can be population-wise, you can be a small country, but if you have a very big aggressor, you can outmaneuver that through national will, through strong military capabilities, and through strong resolve.
All right. Finally, I'd like to understand, there was a huge psychological warfare that was also seen from the Indian side. What happened with the drones, and then how through different social media platforms, you know, a panic-like situation was created for the Pakistani public through the Indian side directly and indirectly. Given the intent, now let's also talk about Pakistan's response to that, and we also saw the intense psychological and physical toll that was inflicted on the Indian forces as a result of Pakistan's reaction. What should be, in your point of view, Pakistan's long-term strategy to maintain this deterrent posture and prevent future escalations?
I think coming to your question about the psychological warfare, we have seen that Indian media has been propagating a lot of fake news. We've seen the news, funnily, that they said that Karachi has been destroyed, God forbidden. A naval base in Karachi has been destroyed. Lahore port and whatnot. So it's a psychological warfare. But I mean, the thing at the end of the day was that Pakistani people had enormous trust in its forces. And they knew that whatever is coming from the Indian side, and by the way, that India had blocked Pakistani news channels, Pakistani celebrities, Pakistani Twitter and social media accounts. That has not been the case in Pakistan. We were able to watch their media, watch their influencers talk about anything we did. But at the same time, Pakistani people had this resolve that, you know, whatever is happening, whatever Indian media is telling us, it's fake, and whatever is happening, our armed forces have the capability to defend our borders and the lives of ordinary Pakistani citizens.
But coming to Pakistan, what strategy, in your point of view, Pakistan should have, I mean, to maintain this deterrent posture that it has now established in the region? and prevent future escalations?
Yeah, I think on a various levels, on a cyber domain, we've talked about that Pakistan needs to maintain this posture and even fortify that, because India has a lot of resources to put into the cyber domain. So we need to fortify our cyber defenses as well. For maintaining this posture, I think more details of what really happened. We've seen the press conferences of our military spokespersons, but I think a dossier needs to be prepared and sent out to all the important capitals in the world, all the international institutions, to just set the record straight. And I think more documentaries need to be made, because Umar, let me be very honest with you, a few years down the line we'll be seeing an Indian movie coming up and saying,
of course, they will be praising this operation, everything going on.
So I think that on that front we need to set the record straight as well.
All right.
Yeah, that's
all right. Thank you very much, Ahsan Hamid Durrani, Director Policy Research Center, to have joined us for this part of the transmission. Ladies and gentlemen, our discussion continues as far as this whole situation that emulated from the 22nd of last month, and how Pakistan has very responsibly reacted to that and has shown its superiority and its tactical abilities through the way it reacted to the Indian belligerents. We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned.